Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of A Run Through. Today we're taking a look at BPM, or bullets per minute. This is a first-person action rhythm-based roguelike shooter. It's sort of in the same vein of like that rhythm-based dungeon game I can't remember the name of now, but they did. Anyway, so yeah, it's kind of strange, but it works out better than I thought it was, because initially I was thinking that everything would be tied to the music, where it turns out it's only your reload and your firing. You get more points, I believe, if you like dodge and stuff within the beat, but the actual like movement isn't tied to the rhythm, which was my initial concern, which is good, because I think this game would be like nearly impossible if that was the case, just based on enemy movement and stuff like that. There are a few enemies that move with the beat, like the bosses mostly will, and then same with some of the, I guess, more boss-like characters. I guess some of them are set to do that, but it's super interesting. I finished it earlier today, or at least finished the main campaign. There's only two difficulties. There's easy and hard. It defaults to easy, which I think is necessary to get the feel for the game, because it is very different, by virtue of the fact that you can only fire. As you can see in the middle of the screen there, you have your sort of tempo, and then there's a half-step tempo too, so you can reload on those as well as fire on those too, so you can sort of quick fire. You also have abilities that you kind of find. I had a really easy run this time, because that first ability that's reloading in the center of that triangle there, it summons a like deity that just keeps firing, I believe, for the duration that you're in the room. It doesn't seem to go away. So that was like pretty miraculous, just because it made the boss fights quite a bit easier as a result of just being able to continually shoot at them while you're still kind of moving around and working through the beat. I think it's good overall. I will say there are some people on Steam mentioning that they are getting headaches from it, and I can totally see how that's possible. What I had done initially is I turned all of the default, there's saturation levels for each level, like they're all set at 100% to start with. I turned all those down to about 50 because someone on there suggested doing that, and that helped quite a bit, because it is like really blown out. Though when you turn it off, everything gets really gray and kind of dark, which is one of my first issues with the game. Is all of the you collect coins and you have these like shrines that you upgrade stuff with, but they're kind of like, that guy there is like sort of blended into the wall, so if you don't necessarily see it, you're gonna just run right past it, and that goes more so with the saturation stuff. Also, like, it's even harder to see, because things are kind of really blended together. But yeah, I think overall it's super solid. It's just a really interesting concept. There's, I believe, 4 world designs, and then the 5th one is like a boss rush kind of thing that you're doing for the final. It's like you do 3 stages, I think, of randomly generated boss encounters, and then you fight the final boss, which was pretty difficult. There's also this mechanic that you find like keys and other stuff to unlock chests. That's sort of the bummer too. Sometimes you'll clear a room, but the chest that's in there that will drop is you have to use a key to open, and you won't always find keys. Luckily on this run too, I got super lucky. I found something called a skeleton key, and it just opens every chest no matter what, and it doesn't disappear. So I could sort of open everything. It's also further brought down on that end, because there is some rooms that have like 3 chests together, but 2 of them are false, and 2 of them have enemies in them, and 1 has an actual item. So further wasting the keys, because you really don't get a lot of them. I think the most I found before I found that was like 3. So they kind of vary. You do have a shop here that you're seeing, so you can sort of upgrade items as you go through it. Or you upgrade the shop with your loyalty card as you spend money there, and you'll get access to more items, but it's usually like health, a piece of armor, or a potion that will increase overall health, and then stuff that will just return health, that kind of thing. But there's also some other sections. There's some random rooms too that will be like just like a mini boss kind of deal. Same there, or same idea on that, I guess, rather. But it's super neat. I'd like to see what they do else with it, and hopefully they can kind of adjust the aesthetic a little bit, because I think that's where the game kind of finds its flaw. I was noticing too, some people were like getting really frustrated with the way the game is set up, because they were just like upset that you can't, because like if you're off beat you can't fire your gun whatsoever. So it just makes it not work. So that can be kind of frustrating. The other thing I found is, so out of the gate there's only one character unlocked. I think I have all 4 of them but one. The last one you have to get by beating the game on hard. But the other ones all came through, and I think that it's just each boss level you finish, I believe, unlocks one, is how I would imagine that worked out. It didn't say anything when that was happening, but that's my guess is how that happens. There is a few other modes as well. There's a retro mode, which I found really, really jarring. Like it's super pixelated. I think the idea is supposed to look like Doom or something, but maybe, and it could be, if like on 1080p it might be great, but on 1440p, man, it was really hard to see. I don't know if I'll ever play through that mode, just because it's nearly impossible to see what's going on. Especially with the smaller enemies too, they look like nothing, and then finding the bonus upgrade stuff is even more to the point. I heard there's also a way to play this game where you turn the tempo off, so you can just play like a normal shooter, and I think that would be kind of pointless. I heard that is not as great to play, like the shooting mechanics aren't as good for that, and I totally get it because the game is designed to not be that. Here you also see you can bank coins and pick them up later depending upon if that shows up or not. I'd say that's my other major criticism with the game, is I haven't found it. In the key bindings there's a thing that shows switching weapons. I've only ever been able to pick up one gun. I don't know if that's because of the class or whatever, but there would be definitely rooms where I would have preferred a different weapon that I had found but wasn't able to carry, just because you can only have the one at a time. I ended up finishing the game with this same handgun. I used the same gun the whole time, which is another kind of disservice, I think, to the game. I wish there was like a more understood way of unlocking multiple weapon slots, or at least out of the gate making that obvious. It might be an armor piece you pick up that does it, because those have some variants on them as well. You have 4 armor slots. Shoes generally like increased speed, but there's some that do different things like jump height and jump distance, stuff like that. I will say some of the rooms too have, or the zones themselves will have an overarching thing. Like there's one that makes every enemy drop a coin, which is super helpful. There's a gravity one. There's one that has bombs, which I'm not quite sure what the bombs end up doing, and it may be because I finished the room before I ran into them, but it doesn't seem like they do damage at all, so I don't know if it's meant to throw you off course, or maybe it just affects your tempo. It counts as like a hit or something, so maybe it affects your overall score. I'm not totally sure on how that maps out. I'm trying to think if there's anything else major that needs to be mentioned. There is, I guess that's the other thing too, is you won't always find a shop or a bank or some of that other stuff, so some of the mechanics of the game are a little weird as a result. Like you won't always run into the thing. Like you can bank stuff to a certain amount, but you might not always find another bank to actually pull money out if you need it, so it's a little bit of a weird mechanic there. But yeah, overall I really enjoy it. I think it's a super interesting game. Like I said, I'd like to see what else they do with it, if they can add more features to it, or maybe a better song library too, because it seems like each stage has a certain set of music, and it's not that they're bad by any means. I just think it might get a little grating over time to just hear the same couple songs over and over and over again, since the game is based on that rhythm. I'd say at a point you really kind of don't notice it anymore. You sort of just follow into the tempo of the game, and it's not a big deal. You find yourself more comfortable with the shooting stuff as well. Like once you get that rhythm down, it's not so bad. Another thing I'll suggest too is if you have a mouse button that is easy to hit continually, I would say it's better to change the reload to that, just because I found having it on R made it a lot more difficult, just because you have sometimes, like with this gun, you have to press it 7 times, I guess, effectively. It's like reload, so then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7 to actually lock it in. So that can be a lot, especially because now you're limited on your movement, usually like you're right, so you have to kind of strafe to the left or whatever and do it the whole time. And it's way different than just hitting it, once for a reload and then movement is back. This one is kind of dependent on that, so it helps to have it tied to a thumb if you can do that. I think that's it though. I don't have too much to mention other than that. So what I'll do is for the next I don't know, 5 minutes or so, I'll just let it kind of run and turn the music up a bit so you can kind of get a better idea of what it is without me talking over, because it does sort of affect the idea of the game. But as always, guys, thanks for watching. If you have any games you'd like to watch me cover or any recommendations, please feel free to leave it in the comments. If you have any comments about this video, same place, all that. Like, subscribe, all that business. Thank you guys again, and I'll see you all in the next one.